Hello and welcome to the Short Gun Sportsman, a podcast about handgun hunting brought to you by Handgun Hunters International. My name is Ryan Hoover and I'm your host. I believe handgun hunting is the most rewarding way to hunt, and it's something I want to share with as many people as I can. If you are at all interested in getting your own game meat, I want to challenge you to a way of hunting that is good for both your spirit and your body, so you can become the confident, self-reliant person you were meant to be. Okay, everybody, today we're going to be talking with the brand marketing manager at Taurus, but before we get to that, I wanted to mention the Six Gunner to all of you. The Six Gunner is HHI's digital magazine, and it is free to everybody. You do not have to be a member of HHI to read it, but you do have to be a member of HHI to write for it. What that means is that this free magazine that comes directly to your email is chock full of articles written by people who have actually done it in the field. Whether it's a newbie or an old hand, you will see stories, pictures, advice, tips, tricks, all that in this magazine. This is basically our way of showing everybody else what handgun hunters are up to and how we do what we do. So please consider subscribing to that. Sign up. Again, it's free. You can just go to subscribepage.com/The Six Gunner and sign up for free. Again, subscribepage.com/The Six Gunner and sign up for that magazine for free. Okay. Today, like I mentioned, we're going to be talking with the brand marketing manager at Taurus. His name is Caleb Giddings. Caleb has been in the industry for a while, working primarily as a freelance writer, and he's been published in most firearms magazines as well as numerous online publications. He's an avid competition shooter and revolver enthusiast. He's a masterclass shooter in IDPA's revolver division as well as the I-Corps Classic division. Also, he was a contestant on the first season of History's Top Shot program. Caleb and I are going to discuss Taurus's future in handgun hunting, how they're viewing us as handgun hunters as a market segment, as well as some of the issues that we all know Taurus has faced over the past few years and what they're doing to address those issues. And so I hope you enjoy my conversation with Caleb Giddings. Caleb, thank you so much for talking with me today.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
So you've been around the block as a competitive shooter. You are currently in the Air Force Reserve, so you have some experience with military shooting. I know that you're big into revolvers. On YouTube, your handle is Mr. Revolver. Can you tell me kind of where your love lies in shooting? And then from there, tell me about some of your handgun hunting experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have been passionate about performance-based shooting for a long time now, and it's this idea that you can always be faster and more accurate, and you don't need to sacrifice one for the other. And that's something that, basically ever since I shot my first IDPA match in 2008, I think, this has been a bug in my brain that I have been chasing down ever since then. And, handgun hunting, I don't have a tremendous amount of experience hunting with handguns, mostly because I don't have a tremendous amount of hunting experience. I've done, a lot of pheasant hunting and wing shooting because I used to live in the Midwest. Most of my handgun hunting has been predator eradication, stuff like that. I've been on a few trips where we're going out shooting at prairie dogs, and we have this whole, gamut of different guns, and you've got handguns and long guns and stuff like that. And as a shooter, I've always gravitated towards handguns. I find them more interesting to shoot than rifles. So whenever we're doing these, media events, if there's a handgun, I'll grab it up. I have some really fond memories about shooting prairie dogs at, 50 plus yards with a 357, things like that. And then last year, I had the opportunity to do some handgun hunting. I had a day of handgun hunting for hogs, where we were driving around on this ranch in Texas looking for pigs. And that one was a real bummer because I had a really cool gun and that I had actually built as a carry gun, and I wanted to see how well it would perform on some hogs. And we never got quite close enough for me to take the shot. We were at the closest we got. There's a batch, a herd. What do you call a group of hogs? A mess?
A sounder.
I don't know.
A sounder.
A sounder. All right. So there was a sounder of hogs, but they were about 150 yards off. Mm-hmm. And that was pushing that's pushing the limits of how I wanted to engage,
Hmm.
especially with the handgun that I had. So it's something that I've really started to do in the last couple of years is handgun hunting, and I'm very interested in doing more of it, especially looking at my new role here with Taurus and our the fact that we're really invested into the hunting handgun market.
Yeah, actually, I think that's great. Being able to get the word out through someone like you who has a lot of experience in the shooting world, but not so much in the handgun hunting world, you're going to fit right in once you start getting some animals on the ground with handguns. And let me just tell you, it's a thrill, and it's the most rewarding way to get your own meat.
You
So
know, I
go
I
ahead.
totally believe that. I have done some bow hunting, and I've enjoyed you know, what I enjoy about hunting at this point in my career is a challenging shot. I enjoy something that presents me with like a complex marksmanship problem. So that's why I'm looking now at handgun hunting. A lot of the hunting I've done before this, before I really worked in the industry, was muzzleloader. So you have similarities where it's like close range, stuff like that. You really have to make sure the shot is where you need it to be, and all that other fun stuff. So yeah, this year I'm looking forward to getting out and doing some real good hunting.
That's great. You mentioned your role at Taurus. I know that because you're on the inside, I'm going to take advantage of that and ask you a few questions about Taurus. You guys have been awesome sponsors of Handgun Hunters International. I can't tell you how much we appreciate that. And
Awesome.
more than that, you guys seem to be the only one of the only, not the only, but one of the only major manufacturers paying attention to us handgun hunters. As what I mean by that is you guys seem to be focused on creating products that we want to buy for hunting, handguns specifically, obviously. I want to know why that is and what kind of potential you guys see in the handgun hunting market.
Well, a big part of it is, people that we have now within the senior leadership at Taurus, right? So my boss, Cody, and then our boss, my boss's boss, our president, Brett, both of these guys are hunters and shooters, right? Like part of the ethos that we have within Taurus moving forward is we are hiring people who are actually passionate about using these guns, not just people who like to look at them. So that's why, Cody is there, Brett's there, I'm there. And we launched at SHOT Show, we launched a sub brand inside of Taurus called Taurus Hunt, which is where you're going to see more hunting related products come out, right? Not just Raging Hunter revolvers, but accessories, things like that. And really the idea is, there's this market of people who like to hunt with handguns. They like the sport. They like that challenge. And we want to know, what it is that those guys want. And that was a big part of what created this new 10-inch Raging Hunter that we launched at SHOT Show with the muzzle brake, with the bottom rail section so you can easily attach it to a tripod or shooting sticks or something like that.
Yeah, I saw the video. That's pretty cool. I got to tell you, handgun hunters are eager to tell you what we want.
And one of the big differences between handgun hunters and some other segments of the market, because lots of segments will tell you what they want. Handgun hunters actually go out and spend money on it. So I love you guys. Like,
Yeah.
please keep telling us. We'll make it.
Yes, it's that, and good Lord, we've been waiting for someone to listen, or be at least be willing to listen. I know some of us ask for some esoteric things, but man, I can't tell you how much it means to us that you guys are making this effort, and I hope that the rest of the industry catches on. I know we're always going to be kind of a niche, but at least there, like you said, there we are so passionate about what we do that we actually spend our money on it. So from that, what kinds of, I assume you guys get feedback. I know following your social media accounts that you guys post sometimes some of the reviews or feedback you've gotten from a lot of your guns. What kind of feedback or stories have you been hearing from the field about people who are using your guns for hunting?
We just had a wild one of a couple up in, I'm going to get the details wrong. We're actually bringing them on to talk to them. But up in Alaska, they used one of our Raging Hunters in 44 Magnum to drop a charging grizzly bear, like stoned it right in its tracks. So that was on social media. There's a story a couple of months ago of a different couple, I think also in Alaska, who had a moose charge them and dropped that with one of our Raging Hunters. And, these are just the ones that have gone, the stories that have gone viral on social media, right? I see stories regularly of people taking, everything from deer to wild pigs, all the way up to, dangerous North American game with these. And it's really gratifying for me to see people, having these successful hunts and sharing these stories with us.
Absolutely. Yeah. The calibers that you're offering a lot of these guns in are pretty proven. So I would say, you guys aren't trying to reinvent the wheel. You're just trying to make it actually roll.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, there's plenty of companies who have the bandwidth to invent their own vanity cartridges, which I'm totally fine. I am totally fine with people doing that. And now, me having said that on a podcast, watch next year we're going to launch like the 600 Taurus Magnum or something, and I'm going to eat my words. But in all seriousness, like, there's nothing that you can't do with the cartridges that already are existing in the market, whether it be 44 Magnum or 460 mag or 500 mag. We're good. We're good on cartridges, guys. So it's, to me, the focus should be that. It should be on making guns for these existing cartridges and making the guns so that we can maximize the performance of these cartridges, right? Like, that's part of why we did the 10-inch 460, because 460 runs at a higher pressure than 500 Magnum, and it shoots flatter, right? So if we put a longer barrel on that, we've created what is essentially a 200-yard handgun, in this, assuming that you have the optics and the shooting skill to make that shot, we have a handgun that retains lethal energy out at rifle distances.
Sure. And that's, speaking of that, that is one of the things that we've talked about on this podcast, and we always are proselytizing about that. Handgun hunting ranges are not necessarily as short as most people think they are. Most of your range is determined by your ability, because
Yes.
I always tell the story. 100 years ago, Elmer Keith put, his 45 Colt loads through 1-inch planks at half a mile away. Now, I never would suggest hunting at that range, but that is just an example of, handguns are capable of more than people give them credit for.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a phrase in a different school of thought when it comes to shooting, where your engagement range is determined by your terrain and your skill. Mm-hmm. So if you're hunting out in the West in, open plains and stuff like that, you're going to have longer shots than you would if you were hunting in, a tree stand in Indiana, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely true. And one more thing I wanted to throw in about the calibers, as far as I love the vanity caliber thing. That's pretty funny, because I've always been of the mind that, most of the time a new caliber comes out and we're all thinking, we have 3 or 4 that kind of already do that. So if you guys do consider new calibers, there are some handgun hunting calibers that some of us would love to see resurrected. So please hit us up, because we could give you a list.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So I know the world is still not normal from the COVID business that we went through, and we all in the business saw a crazy time as far as supply chain issues and the availability of certain guns to the end user. How is that going for you guys?
It's still an ongoing struggle. It's one of those situations where we may be caught up in one area or still a little bit behind on other areas. But what we're starting to see is that, the supply chains have mostly caught up to themselves. Guns are moving in and out. Now it's just a matter of making the guns that the people are buying and getting those out to the people. So for the most part, the market has stabilized in terms of production. What we're seeing is, a lot of dealers still have inventory, because in 2020 and 2021, everybody went out and bought guns, and now they're sitting on guns that they bought at overinflated prices, and they don't want to necessarily go buy another gun, and they don't want to sell that gun at a $400 loss.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of inventory out there right now, guys. If you're looking for guns, maybe you got a friend who wants to make a car payment or something, you might be able to get a good deal.
There you go. That's right. So speaking of that, how easy it is to sell guns and guns in stock, what would you say is y'all's most popular caliber in your Raging Hunter line?
44 Magnum, no question. That's the one that's it's the dual. We've got 6 rounds of 44 Magnum on board in that gun. It's the caliber that it's the most popular caliber by far. it's just, yeah, that's the one. That's the one that people want the most of.
That is definitely the gold standard of revolver hunting cartridges. So
It really is.
another thing is you guys have, the Raging Hunters are great. They are cool revolvers. But you sell other guns that would be good for hunting in the field, your Model 44, your trackers, and some of your smaller bore, 22, 17 revolvers that we like to use for small game, squirrel, etc. What are some of the most popular? I mean, 44 Magnum, we'll say, is the most popular. In secondary, non-raging hunter, what is the kind of the other cartridges that you see move well?
We see obviously 357 38s
Mm-hmm.
because it's such a dual, cartridge in
Right.
that tracker series, right? You can, load it soft with, cupcake 148 grade 38 loads, or you can, load it crazy with, some of these buffalo bore 200 grain hard cast lead bullets that are
Mm-hmm.
going 50 million feet per second, and they'll shoot through a bear, long ways. Stuff like that. So we have that. And then, a cartridge that a lot of people use, I don't know if it's necessarily hunting per se, but we see a lot of pest eradication with the Judge because,
Mm.
you throw a cloud of 410 at something and it's all, and you got squirrels, chewing up your trees, or, rodents in your barn, things like that. People throw a 410 at it and solve that problem.
Yeah, that's a good point. I know you guys just introduced the Judge in the Executive series, and we're going to get to that in just a sec. But that's true. The Judge is pretty versatile. I'll tell you a funny story. My brother, when he graduated high school, I bought him a Colt Combat Commander for his graduation present. And when he was in law school, unfortunately, his apartment got broken into, and all of his guns got stolen. So his replacement gun was a Davidson's exclusive Judge with a gold hammer, trigger, and thumb piece that said El Juez on the side of the barrel.
Hell yeah.
Yes.
I want us to bring those guns back, by the way. I think those guns that are like super blinged out are awesome.
It was just, he was like, look, I need something that is ridiculous in the best way to be able to defend my house now. But that's kind of,
Well, now he definitely got it.
yeah. And so I've been using, my first pistol was a Taurus PT 140 Millennium. Not a huge fan. I ended up selling it, but the revolvers that I've used, I've always loved. And I know you guys have come out with way better and more semi-autos since then. So speaking of the semi-auto, your 1911 line has been pretty popular, and also the 10 millimeter is coming back in popularity. Do you guys have any plans on introducing 10 millimeter in that platform?
Not that I can talk about.
Dun, dun, dun.
No, I'm like, that. Yeah, for real. It's one of those where it's like, I always love that question because people are like, can you tell us a thing that you would definitely try to keep secret otherwise? And I'm like, no, of course not.
Sure. Okay. How about I rephrase the question? Have you guys?
No, I'll be very honest with you.
Okay, go.
I'm personally not aware of any plans to extend the 1911 line to 10 millimeter right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's not to say that 10 millimeter is not a possibility or that you might not see 10 millimeter in other lines, but as of right now, no, I have no knowledge of a 10 mil 1911 that's coming.
I was just curious. We have plenty of them, and I would rather you guys concentrate on your hunting revolvers. That's semi-auto guys. Sorry, that's my personal opinion. One more thing about revolvers that I just want to throw out there: the tracker. You guys, I don't know if you still offer it, but you used to make a 41 Magnum, and
that is sadly discontinued.
Yeah.
It's the problem with every 41 mag. Like, I actually love 41 Magnums because I also love 10 mil. Yeah. And it's the problem with 41 Magnums is you make a run and you'll sell 200 of them and then that's it. And because once you hit that cap of people that want a 41 Magnum gun, no one's going to buy it as a curiosity, right? And that's kind of the thing. That's why the 44 Magnum is always going to be the most popular because people always want a 44 Magnum. People will see a rerun of Dirty Harry and they'll go, you know what, I should get a 44 Magnum. And they don't care if it's a Model 29 or a Super Blackhawk or a Raging Hunter. All they care is that it says 44 Magnum on it.
Well, anecdotally, 41 Magnum, I know it kind of ebbs and flows as far as popularity is concerned, but it is hugely popular among us handgun hunters. And we have some folks that are really kind of evangelizing for it. So hopefully we'll be hitting a bubble soon that maybe we can convince you guys to make even a limited run or something like that. Anyway, moving on. I got to talk about a couple of elephants in the room.
Sure.
Just because I know I've watched your social media and I always respect, like for instance, I watched your recent review on the Executive Series Judge, and I really respect how honest you are, even about products you're paid to endorse. The honest truth is that Taurus got a bad reputation for both some quality control issues and some customer relations issues in the past, specifically, ridiculous warranty turnaround times, et cetera, et cetera. What I know that you guys have noticed this and worked on it. You mentioned some changes in the leadership. What have you guys? I assume you guys were aware of this, and what have you guys done to improve it?
The biggest thing that we did was we moved. We left the
Mm-hmm.
Miami facility and we moved to Bainbridge, Georgia. And
Mm-hmm.
like to kind of put it in perspective for people, our repair facility in the new Bainbridge factory is bigger than our entire factory floor was in Miami. All
Wow.
right. So just the area that we have dedicated to fixing busted guns is bigger than what we had in Miami. We added staff. The guy who is the head of the repair department is actually a friend of mine. And I was talking to him the other day, and our average turnaround time on a bust, on the amount of time that a gun spends in physically in repair, is under 72 hours. So that's the only time you're going to see guns sitting there longer than that is if we don't have a part to fix them. And that happens sometimes, right?
Yeah.
That's like, hey, you cracked the forcing code on this. That's a part that we don't get a lot of. We got to wait for those to be manufactured and shipped up.
Yeah.
But, for the most part, our turnaround time on new guns, on like guns that were manufactured at that Bainbridge or imported since we moved, it's less than 72 hours. The guns that we see sitting there, because I was there and I was looking, there's like the guns that sit the longest are old guns, right? Like stuff that was made way back in the dark, scary days of Taurus. And, in those situations, I've seen cases where we've said, hey, sir, your PT-140 Millennium is broken as hell and we can't fix it. So we just send them a new gun.
Mm-hmm.
We've done that for people as well. So, the commitment and dedication to customer service that we have seen from our repair department has really been great for me to watch.
That's awesome to hear. As a former gunsmith and warranty gunsmith for an importer, I sympathize with the waiting for parts thing, but I can't tell you how good it is to hear that you guys are making an effort on that front. And when I spoke with Cody, I guess a year ago, and he told me that turnaround, I was floored, because that's impressive for any industry.
Yeah. We're very excited about that.
Good. The second thing is, I know there's a term in the industry that we all joke about called the lawyer trigger, and basically meaning that you guys don't want to have a trigger that is so light that it could be accidentally tripped and have an AD, an accidental discharge, obviously very dangerous situation. However, again, as a former gunsmith, a lot of the Tauruses that I've felt needed work specifically on the single action triggers. And I know that, being an I-Core and, revolver competitor, you're not as concerned about single action triggers as us hunters are. I spoke with Cody about that, and he mentioned that he was having a meeting with everybody to discuss it. Do you guys feel there's any room for improvement on those from the factory?
Yeah, I mean, there's always room for improvement. Here's the thing, right? There's always room for improvement on any factory trigger. Like, I can't tell you, and this is across, let me think. So we'll say across three different, major revolver brands.
Mm-hmm.
I've modded every single trigger I bought, with two exceptions in the last, 8-9 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't change my executive grade Judge trigger, because that trigger is really good. And I didn't change the trigger in my Ruger LCR, because that's a really good trigger. And that's it. Mm-hmm. Every other trigger that I've gotten, I have modified to make it better, and to make them better in double action. So yeah, of course there's room for improvement. And I think a lot of that can come from, looking at what the aftermarket is doing, and then incorporating that into some of our internal processes.
Sure. So I know that the lock work is different inside a Taurus, because I've been in them, than say a Smith. However, frankly, if you get a Taurus with a single action pull of near 7 pounds and you have a gunsmith put it to a reasonable 3.5 pounds, that voids your warranty. So we're kind of stuck as far as that's concerned with being able to make those modifications that you're suggesting, and then also being able to take advantage of your warranty should we need it.
Yeah, I know this is. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm fairly certain that also voids your warranty with Smith and Wesson
Mm,
and Ruger as well.
absolutely. Well, let me stop you there though. You're absolutely right, and that is. I do not mean to single out Taurus on that. That is a industry wide thing. You're absolutely right. However, my Smith and Wesson did not have a 7-pound trigger.
That's fair. And I think, when you're talking about that, you're looking at people in kind of two different camps, right? So the people that care enough about that trigger pull to take it to a gunsmith that they like a skilled gunsmith who they know that can work on a revolver and get that down to where they like it, or maybe they're, like me and they're capable of doing it themselves. Those people are in a very different camp than the people that are maybe going to send things back for warranty repair. Your warranty repair people, to me, unless it's a major issue like a cracked forcing cone, or the gun blows up or something like that, the people that are smart enough, that was rude, the people that are technically skilled enough to be doing these mods, or to care enough about these mods to have them done, aren't necessarily at that very beginning end of the gun ownership curve. And I'm not saying that there isn't crossover, and that we can't meet both of those people's needs. One of the things that I would like to, that I routinely agitate for, is building out a little bit of an internal custom shop within our Bainbridge facility, where if someone says, hey, I want my Raging Hunter to have a 2.5-pound trigger pull, they send it to us, we charge them, whatever dollars, and then we send it back with a 2.5-pound trigger pull. Once a quarter, just for the record, I bring that up once a quarter, where I'm like, hey, we should do this, guys. And then they say, who's going to run it?
Add my voice to that. I know, who's going to run it is always the key, but just to let Taurus know, if you guys fixed that trigger, you would sell more guns to experienced handgunners, I think, just because that's just one of the things that we really like. Okay, moving on to new things. You guys recently, I guess within the last year and a half, introduced the executive line.
Yes.
You started that with your 38 856. Is that the model?
That's the one. Yeah. The 6-shot 38 special.
And it's basically upgraded finish, bobbed hammer, that kind of a carry gun. And then you moved on to the Judge, which is was that SHOT Show you guys announced that?
Sure was.
So tell me about the executive line and what you guys do differently to those guns.
Sure. So, you've obviously seen like the finishes are nicer and stuff like that. Yeah. The idea behind the executive grade is to create a gun that is, and I will use one of our competitors' example. It's very similar in idea to what the Performance Center used to be, where, a Performance Center gun was a special gun that got special touches and was touched by, worked on by, high-level gunsmiths. And the big difference between the executive grades and the standard line guns is, a standard line production gun, part comes out of the machine, part is checked for tolerances, and then it's added to the product, right? Mm-hmm. With the executive grade guns, these are all actually hand fitted and assembled, right? So the part comes out of the machine, it's mated to a specific other part. They are hand fitted together. And that's why you see, the action in the Judge executive grade from the factory. No joke, double action trigger pull is 8 to 9 pounds, right? Single action trigger pull is, I actually haven't measured my gun, but I want to say the ones I've tested, it's like 3.5 pounds, which is where you expect, a gun that says executive grade on the side of it to be.
Mm-hmm. I know, again, not divulging anything that you guys are working on. Actually, I have no idea, but I would like to say it would be really cool to see some version of an executive grade Raging Hunter.
I would love to see something like that as well. The executive grade, we have, I can say this, we are obviously going to keep expanding the executive grade. It's not just going to be these two guns and then we're going to stop. And when we look at what we want to expand it to, we look at our internal production capacity balanced against consumer demand, and all of these other sorts of things. So we're trying to find, with the Judge, it was a no brainer, right? We made the 856 and everyone was like, cool, give us the Judge. And like, all right, let's do it. So
yeah, I just, I love the fact that you guys have given Handgun Hunters International the opportunity to kind of have a way, a lane to be able to feed you information on stuff that we would like to see. I know we're not the biggest market segment, but we will, if you give it to us, we will be loyal. So I'm going to keep giving you guys our ideas.
I'm totally into that. Look, I'm a competition revolver shooter. You want to talk about small market segments?
That's so true.
But that's the thing at Taurus though, right? Like if I make a revolver that's really good for competition revolver shooters, you know what I've made? I've made a good revolver, and the people who want, so like if I make, and I'll use the GP100 Max Champion as an example. Ruger made a revolver that was designed for IDPA competition shooters, and it was great at that. As a side effect, it was also a really good 6-shot 357 Magnum, which it turns out a lot of people want.
Right.
So, I think that if we make good products for handgun hunters and we make good products for competition shooters, yes, those are small markets, but lots of other people want a high tier product, even if they may not be enthusiasts for what that specific design ethos is.
Okay. Lastly, you guys recently added the 500 Smith & Wesson Magnum to your Taurus Raging Hunter line and have graciously sponsored our February 2023 giveaway with an 8-inch version of that gun that one HHI member is going to win. I just wanted to say thank you on this podcast for all that you guys have done for HHI, and I just can't tell you how much I appreciate you sitting down to do this with me and the support, and hopefully we just keep this relationship growing.
Yeah, man, it's my pleasure. Look, the best part of my job is when people say, "Hey, do you want to come on an interview and talk about guns?" Because I love talking about guns. That's I really do. Like I got into this because I'm a gun nut and I'm still a gun nut. So anytime somebody says, "Do you want to talk about guns?" I'm like, yes, I do. Then we're happy to support you guys. Whoever wins that gun, tell them I'm sorry on behalf of their wrists because that thing kicks. But it is fun to shoot.
Well, fortunately, again, in our cohort, we have so many guys who have such good advice from people who have actually done it on recoil mitigation techniques, hand loading techniques, what ammunition to buy that would save your wrist, as you say. And then, one of the things that I've learned by doing this is there are people who were just born to shoot heavy recoiling handguns. And they love it.
That is a fact.
They go for it.
God bless them for it, because that is not me.
I understand. I definitely understand, but it's still a cool deal, and I thank you guys for it. Caleb, can you tell us where we can find more about you and about what Taurus is up to?
Yeah, absolutely. For Taurus, obviously, follow us online at taurususa.com. That's our main website. If you have questions or comments, or things for us on the media side, you can email me at pr@taurususa.com. And then if you want to follow the, degenerate ramblings of a revolver enthusiast, you can follow me on Instagram at Radicaleb. It's just RADICALEB.
Awesome. Caleb, thanks again for doing this with me. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. You have a great day.
This episode is brought to you by Handgun Hunters International. Handgun Hunters International is the premier organization for handgun hunters. We have a cool website where we have a great, well-moderated forum that is friendly to all ages and experience levels. The Six Gunner, which is our bi-monthly digital magazine, is written exclusively by HHI members and is free to the public. We host giveaways of guns, gear, and ammo each month, and every prize is worth several times what membership costs. We also trade info with the industry, and we want to have more influence there as we grow. Help us fulfill our mission of supporting and growing the handgun hunting community by joining today at handgunhuntersinternational.com. Again, if you have any questions on how to get started in handgun hunting, please reach out to me at ryan@handgunhuntersinternational.com. We may even have an HHI member in your area that you can connect with for further help. Please leave us a review, and don't forget to follow Handgun Hunters International on social media at Handgun Hunters INT. Thank you all, and good hunting.